Welcome to the Loyola College Performing Arts Podcast. I am your host, Mitchell Helliar, and I am joined here by the lovely cast and co-director of the latest addition to Loyola's musical family, the culmination of everything that has come before it, the bouncing badass baby brother that is the Addams Family. There we go.
That's an intro.
Yeah. So how is everyone? You want to state your names and what you did?
Ladies first.
Well, I'm Alanah Cecchin and I played Morticia Addams.
I'm Tim Bland and I play Gomez Addams.
And I'm Michael O'Keefe and I was the co-director.
Fantastic. And I'm Mitchell. I wasn't involved. But anyway, so I've just got a couple questions for you guys. I guess we'll start. First one's to Mock. So how did the performing arts teachers settle on the Addams Family as this year's musical?
Yeah, I was trying to remember back about this. I mean, at the end of the previous musical, before the previous musical's finished, we start talking about the next one while we're in a really good mood and in a good place. And I just remember one day I said, "What about the Addams Family?" It was just random.
Yeah.
And Vanda Tolley, who's my co-director, was in the corner. And at that stage, I don't think she wanted to be involved because she'd... I don't know, she'd had a year off. I don't know why she didn't want to be involved. She goes, "Ooh, if it's Addams Family, I'm interested." And it's just how it started.
Because it was just after Wizard of Oz and I was listening to the Addams Family cast recording and you and Mr. Will asked me, "What are you listening to?" And I said, "The Addams Family." And Mr. Will turned around and said, "That'd be a good show to do." So
yeah.
And then we were talking about it during High School Musical.
Yeah, we were talking about who would play who.
Who would do what.
Wow.
So I don't know, but no one else in the room had even heard the soundtrack, I think, except me. So once we started listening to it, it gained momentum. And we go, "Oh my God, how good is this musical?" Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay. And to Tim and Alanah, when you first found out that Addams Family was going ahead as a thing, what were your initial reactions? Were you pleased?
I was excited.
Yeah.
I was pumped for it as soon as I heard.
Yeah. Did you guys have... Oh, sorry, I'll let you go.
I was just, similar, very excited, very excited to see what this show will bring, because High School Musical was so modern and, really contemporary, just to do something...
a bit more theatrical.
Yeah, theatrical.
Yeah, and although it is, I guess, Addams is of the modern era, it still follows the old musical rules, where High School Musical doesn't, so...
Yeah. Okay, so you were all very fortunate to use the actual Broadway costumes and sets for this musical. How did that influence your direction and your guys' acting, knowing how prestigious these sets and costumes were to you?
Yeah, look, as a director, I've always liked to try to replicate what Broadway has done to a point. I mean, you're not technically allowed to completely copy it. You're meant to have your own spin and own interpretation. But I think people come with an expectation to see what they see elsewhere and then add a bit of flair on top and make some changes into some scenes. So, Moon and Me, for example, is a scene where every version does it slightly differently. And so, once we knew we were getting the sets and props, we just researched to the, every version we could watch. We were we had Spanish versions and Chicago versions and Broadway versions, then school versions, and then sort of got our own interpretation of the show. Right, you guys just like wearing the clothes of some of the original cast members.
I got to wear Nathan Lane's pants, which I thought was never going to happen. I just thought we were going to get the Sydney actors' costumes. But when I saw that Nathan Lane, who was the original Gomez on Broadway, it was his name, I just freaked out. I was just like, wow. And then getting to wear his...
and then it fit.
Yeah, and then it fit really well. He was a bit shorter, but it was fine. It still worked well. And then getting to wear his replacement, Roger Rees is a big film star, getting to wear his black tuxedo that he wore in Act 2. So it was just that extra bit of getting closer to Broadway and having that sense of professionalism was just amazing.
Now, Alanah, you had two choices of dress, and they were slightly different, weren't they?
They were. One was a bit... larger and the train was much more longer, which was impossible to dance in. But then the one I had was the perfect fit. It fit like a glove. And it was actually worn by the understudy of the Morticia in Sydney.
Yeah.
Right.
So
it's an understudy costume, right. Yeah, and I remember audience members going, "Oh, they must have made that costume for Alanah. It was perfect. And we're like, no, we didn't. It just fit.
Yeah. Okay. So I have something to admit. I didn't know much about the Addams Family in general before it was announced as a musical, or even the music at all. Was there any worry from you guys that it may be too distant from the public knowledge to work?
Yeah, look, that's a really good question. I mean, I'm 40 next year, and it wasn't on when I was on as a kid, so it wasn't on in the 80s. I mean, we're talking 60s as the TV show. I think people just know that.
And I think because the show starts with the Addams Family tune with the Click Clicks. I think once that was done, I think everyone was just hooked in because it was something that's people just know and register. That's Addams Family.
Because even the primary school kids clicked, didn't they? So they must know it.
Yeah.
But I think there is, like, whenever we're choosing a musical, and Loyola's had a hit, like, we've got a fickle audience in that if they don't know it at all, and Seussical's an example of that. Although the production Loyola did of Seussical was outstanding and has some people that have gone on into performing arts, people didn't know it, and so they just didn't come. And so we do have that risk at this school. But I think we're now at the point of hope that we're producing such good shows that people are just going to come no matter what it is.
Yeah.
I hope we're there now.
I definitely think that you are. Okay, Tim and Alanah.
Yeah.
Who is the better director, Mr. O'Keefe or Miss Tully?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Well, see,
I don't think either one is better.
No, they both direct in different styles.
Yeah.
So, like, Mr. O'Keefe's more, liking to replicate things off Broadway. But then you have Miss Tully, who's very, don't go into accents now, we'll work over that. And she likes to create your own. So I think, but they both come to it in such a unique way that it just feels good, and they're both good to connect with. Yeah, it's great.
I'm not sure I understand.
that was
Siri the entire
not showing her answer. I think that what I love working about with Vanda is that she will drill down into a character right to the bottom, and she'll keep pushing that until you get it right. I'm impatient with that, so that's why we love working together, because I'll go the big picture and how's this technically going to work, and what sort of feel, and I think and that's because Vanda's passion is actually straight theatre. People are surprised by that, but musical's not in a one theatre style, so that's why we work well together, because I think I have that feel of where the music comes in and how it flows, but the character development is all down to Tolly and the work she does with each individual person, and that's why we just love working together.
And I think with that, it also makes, like, me and Alanah work off each other really well, getting us down to what our intentions are. Like, when she was mad at me in the show, I had to know why she was mad, which then made me work better, and so it then gave her something to work off with. So I think it's that great idea of allowing us to create the chemistry on stage, which is great.
That connection.
Okay, so we all know that from seeing the musical that you two have very distinct acting styles. So when it comes to, as I previously mentioned, the public not having much knowledge on the Addams Family, how did you guys personally use that to your advantage to make the characters of Gomez and Morticia really your own?
Ooh. That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Because we did focus on, like, the Broadway versions and how they use their characterization. But
I was showing my daughter some black and white television, and she picked up, and she's only 7. She goes, Alanah is Morticia. So I think that what both of these guys did was obviously brought their own flair to the role, but made sure there was enough of the original that audience members would go, that's Morticia, that's Gomez. I mean, your accent changed a lot because we got in an accent.
Very high pitchy before.
Yeah, we got in an accent expert to work with you, Suzanne Haywood, and wow, that changed dramatically.
Yeah, I think because, Alanah's was, proper, like, American, and it didn't have to have an accent. With mine, it was just trying to find what was funny but then what was too silly. So trying to find the suave nature of it, and where Gomez would be a bit childish, and then where he had to be quite romantic. Yeah, so trying to find that balance exactly.
Yeah, because I think for me, as someone who isn't well versed in musical theatre, especially in terms of the Addams. I've never seen the thing. I remember when I went home, I really wanted to listen to the music, and I was like, that doesn't sound like Tim. Why doesn't it sound like Tim? And it's just like, but that's, you guys like the definitive versions of that characters for me personally, because that would be my first exposure to that.
And I think there was a lot of change even when they first wrote it. I mean, there were essentially 3 versions of this show, Chicago, Broadway and tour.
Yeah.
And the styles of both Morticia and Gomez changed over those 3.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was first written for Nathan Lane.
Yeah, because he was the big star.
But then they've gone, well, we're not going to have Nathan forever, so let's rework it into something different.
Then they had the squid.
And the squid.
They had
Do you want a squid story?
I want a squid story, yes.
Well, you want to start it?
So pretty much what happens is that in the comics, I think it was one of the sketches, they had a squid just appear. And obviously the directors liked what that was. And so they decided, let's put a whole big, gigantic squid puppet into it. And Basil Twist, the puppet designer, decided, okay, we're going to make it come out of all the portholes, out of the staircase and everything, and let it curl up. And that squid then becomes the connection that allows Mel and Alice, which are these other characters, to come back and fall in love with each other. But it just then got out of hand.
Yeah. So eventually they got rid of the squid, and there was a song
in the
Mel sang about the squid, sort of basically cuddling him and making him realise he's not the husband he should be.
Yeah.
But in the end, and I think it's more beautiful in the tour version we did, is that it's Gomez and Morticia that
have the issue.
But make Mel and Alice and Fester to some.
Yeah.
It's people that make him realise that he's not the best husband he could be, and Alice is not always the best wife, and rather than a squid.
Yeah.
Another thing was that with the versions of the show, they don't really throw anything away. If you listen to the music, there's nothing that's really thrown away. You have a song, Where Did We Go Wrong, that was originally done by Gomez and Morticia.
Yeah.
A lot of the music was then put into some other songs, like some of Morticia's stuff and some of my stuff. And then the song that Mel sings to Alice isn't thrown away. That's used as underscoring when Mel is thinking about Alice. So none of it's tossed away. It's just retooled and reworked.
Yeah.
And this is common in all musicals. Like Grease is another good example where a lot of the music that isn't in the film with Olivia Newton-John, John Travolta is underscoring throughout the whole film. But when you go and do the stage version, you're actually singing those songs.
Yeah.
So it's very common.
Okay. So this is a question to all of you. What would be your dream musical to perform or direct?
Ooh.
Go on, Tish. What do you got?
You first.
Come on.
I think I'm just going to go with Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins has always been close to my heart.
Do you want to be Mary or you
Mary.
don't? Oh, Mary.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, of course.
Me. There would have to be Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah.
I know this one doesn't like it. But I don't know, it's just, I've followed that musical's development since 2013, and it's just, the character of Willy Wonka is just crazy, and it's just something that I would love to do, and just his costume and the songs that he sings, it's just amazing, so I'd love to do that.
If I was performing, I think, like an old school traditional musical like The Producers or Guys and Dolls or something like that, Frank Sinatra era type musical, but to direct, I'd love to do Wicked. It's my favourite musical, and certainly something we're thinking about. Not next year, people. This isn't breaking news.
I was going to say
it's not next year.
Write that down.
We are really considering it for 2021, 22, just because we have a really strong group of females at 10 and 9 currently, so they'll be 11 and 12. So when this particular group get to 11, 12, we think we might be able to pull it off.
Fair enough. Okay, so Mr. O'Keefe, question for you. I have a quote here from you, all right? Mitchell Helliar is my favourite student. He's smart, funny and cool. If you think I'm so good, then why didn't I win any of the raffles?
I don't know, but one of our teachers won one.
Oh, well, that's just weird then.
And then a bunch of parents, not one of the creative team, but a teacher at school. But we do love you, Mitch. And are you going to be involved next year? Or
Please do.
I want to. I think Tim's forcing me.
Please.
Yeah.
You have to come.
You'll have a ball.
I mean, if you told me what it was.
Well, it's your type of comedy, isn't it?
Is
next
it?
Year's show,
I don't know.
Next year's show isn't, the two we're looking at isn't aren't that sort of comedy. I mean, the thing about Addams is every line is funny. Or every
Yeah.
second
Why
of
don't you
it.
just tell us?
Reveal
what
it on the
is?
podcast?
Yeah.
It'll be
Might as well
breaking
just
news.
tell
Yeah,
No.
breaking news is a fun.
But it's not. It's more traditional. Both of them are more traditional book musicals that have the laughs along the way, but not as. I mean, this thing's
Not
like
every
stand-up
second.
comedy.
Yeah.
you
I
know.
have to do some research now.
Yeah.
I still don't know what book musical means. But anyway, so what was the chemistry like on stage between the three couples in the show?
Ooh.
Actually, hang on.
Okay.
If you really,
Wait,
you
with
have-
the actors or the characters?
yeah,
Yeah,
which one?
Because I have heard some things, but I'll let you guys talk because it is a question to you guys and
What
not
about-
to me.
Oh, God. Okay.
Well, who we got? Let's go through
You've got
Lucas
us.
and
Yeah.
Wednesday Lucas.
Mel
Alice
and
and-
Alice, right?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you two. You
Oh,
can
do you
talk
wanna-
about you.
Or you can talk about Fester and the Moon.
I didn't even consider that as one of the options, but if you
you're
want.
talking about, me and Alanah,
Yeah.
it was just there.
Yeah, 'cause
Well, I
we're
think
close-
it was,
we're close
and it was,
friends.
yeah.
and it was yours was probably the most professional of the three related. Like you two have been there before and know
Yeah.
what's expected.
People, I think, got a sneak peek in High School Musical
oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
Coach Bolton and
Because
Miss
of the-
Darbus
had a thing.
Yeah.
had a small thing,
A small
and
thing.
so I think everyone was just like, "Ooh, maybe."
Mm. And then it escalated.
Yeah, and
This
then
year.
Our challenge with the other two, from a directing point of view, and you guys would have seen it on stage. The challenge for the other two it was year 12s with year 9s.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
but yeah, it
actually.
was.
They were both in nine.
Yeah. And so that, I mean, we're asking people to kiss and hug and do stuff on stage, and, we're asking year 9 boys to be, affectionate with a year 12 female. But I think there was a point about 3 weeks out when I think for Lucas and Wednesday, it just clicked.
Yeah.
And they were fine after that. Probably
Took
took
bit of time.
for Alice and
Yeah.
Mal, and
Yeah.
probably didn't happen until the last show.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Or the second last show.
yeah.
That they really, that happened for them.
Mm.
So,
Tim, are you wearing Beetlejuice socks? Or are they just
No,
strap
they're actually
socks?
Wizard of Oz socks.
Oh,
when
yeah,
we
of
saw
course.
Wizard of
Oh,
Oz.
yeah, they are.
They go all the way up to the knee.
yeah, beautiful.
That wasn't a planned question,
No.
by the way.
I'm wearing a Beetlejuice badge though.
Oh, you are.
She's from Broadway.
Nice.
Oh, Broadway.
Okay. So what was bump in and bump out like for this show with the very big
wasn't
sets?
Well, you were there for bumping, weren't you?
Yeah, when we got
Just
it, and
by
I was
chance.
just.
Oh yeah,
was
didn't I
having-
help with that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there.
I
Yeah.
was our
And Tim
theatre
was
studies
just
class.
wandering through
I
the
was
building.
I didn't lift a finger because I was just that I don't do much work and I don't pick up tools. I might kill myself. But it was just because I think for you and me, Mock, it was just because we looked at every video we could on the internet
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
looking and then seeing it in person. It was just. It was wow, and some of it came from Broadway, like the Central Park Bridge, Morticia's Chase Lounge, which renowned Broadway star B.B. Newbirth, who played Morticia, has sat, and Brooke Shields has sat on that lounge. It was just,
Crazy.
it was just amazing, and to then see it put on stage, it was just phenomenal. It was crazy, but it was awesome.
And I was talking to my one of my classes this week, might have been my year 8s, about even to the point of the sets were built for every part of the show. So when
Yeah.
Pugsley spikes the sacred chalice to make Wednesday reveal everything, there's actually something built under the table for the second chalice to sit in from Broadway.
Box thing.
Yeah, so that because there's a magic trick with water and dry ice and two chalices at the same time, and the audience can't see both at the same time. So there's actually a holder for the second chalice. So to
Same
see
with
that,
staircases, it's all. Yeah,
Yeah.
the staircase is also used for multi-purpose things. Like one of the sides was the grotto, the dungeon piece. So they made it and designed it, as if it was on tour, and they were
Multi-purpose.
limited to
What
space.
they had.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We already answered that. So what was the proudest moment in the show for you guys personally?
Oh, proudest moment. Well, the whole show I was just proud with, but I think the proudest moment was for Move Towards the Darkness, when everybody just comes together and we're all singing together, and it's just like a really beautiful moment. Like that's the end of the show, and you feel like you're there. You're all like, move towards the darkness. It was just, I don't know. Well, that's what made me cry
Yeah.
at the end of it anyway. But
I don't know. I can't dance. I cannot dance. And so I think doing tango was my proudest moment because I'm terrible. But I think finding out that I could do that and
lifting me.
Yeah, and lift you and drag her across stage. It was actually quite fun and I learned that I can dance.
Yeah.
But that was just, that was I was proud of that, yeah.
Yeah, like Alanah, I'm always proud of the whole show. But for me, the ability for year 7s to 12s across a broad spectrum of personalities and friendship groups come together, particularly when the crew and the cast work well together. So on the Saturday matinee, I didn't sit in the audience. I hung backstage for a bit. And like I remember at the end of, or during Full Disclosure when Alice was climbing on the table, Lurch and Sarah Johnson, one of our ensemble members, had to grab all the stuff off the table. And they came over off stage and there was a crew member waiting, like a year 7 or 8 little girl waiting to collect that and the same spot every night. And just kids to do that without really a lot of, they're not
Direction.
told to do a lot of that.
They
They just do it. Like, and I've been watching back the footage because I'm starting to edit it, and I just thought, look at that happening every night at the same time. And that footage I released this week on the mock project of. No, I haven't yet. It's this week. There's some exclusive.
Make a quick plug.
No, there's some exclusive footage this week, but it's of the Central Park Bridge coming out and back in again. And just the crew stand there ready and some with their hand up ready and go. And it just works so. I'm always proud of that. I love that.
It's the rhythm of the show.
Yeah, it's the rhythm of the show. And like even I've got footage this week of the makeup team, the overtures on, and here's the makeup team packing up from the big makeup that they had to do, but preparing for the touch-ups. So they never got to see the opening of the show, this makeup team, because they had a job to do. And they just did it without whinge. It was amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
So I know that Tim has a very specific story of a backstage incident, or technically on stage. But is there any fun behind-the-scenes stories that you guys can think of?
Behind the scenes.
Yeah, my on-stage issue was my finger. And almost scaring you on the last show.
Yeah,
because
I
you
would
cut
have
your
to
finger,
improvise.
The sword entrapped cut my finger, and the mark is there.
Yeah, the mark is still there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I finished trapped, and I'm like, why am I wet? And then I looked down, I'm like, there's blood, and so Bernadette, one of our stage managers, was there, and so was Sammy and Michael. They had tape, and Alanah was just standing there going, what's going on? And so I was just running, and I've got blood down here, I've got blood on the sword and everything, and we get down to the green room, and I'm saying, I'm not going to make it. Pooled is finishing. I have to be up on stage. Then I tell my friend Natalie, run up to Alanah, tell her that she's going to have to improvise for a bit.
Okay.
She's most likely...
Was this the day, man?
I was
No, this was the last show.
Oh.
Everything that could go wrong went wrong on
in
the last show.
And so Nat's run up to her going, Tim's bleeding, you're going to have to do something. But what was funny was that we were running to side stage, and it was funny because I got through, my coat was done, everything was there, and I had a bandage, I was stressing, but I was running. Cara, why are you so stressed? It was immediately from stressed into character, and that could also be another proud moment, going from that panic zone right back into it, going, okay, don't be so worried.
My heart was beating in my ears.
What happens in that scene? What would you have done?
Talk
to yourself?
Aiden, one of the ensemble members, Michaela's brother, told me, he's like, say like inner thoughts, like, how could this happen? Why would you do this? Who is this boy? And I was like, okay. Oh, God, it was so stressful.
And on Broadway, of course, that happens regularly. People get injured, and you can go to Act 2 and it's the understudy.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of stuff.
Well,
Just trying to think backstage. I know an hour before we opened the matinee, which we're sort of calling our previews now, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
The one of our moving lights actually exploded on like in the roof. It popped as it was warming up, and it popped so much it wasn't just the globe. The globe exploded and shattered the internals of the light, so all the wiring. So that was out. And I remember saying to you, don't be worried. Like in
for full disclosure,
you might get one beam of light. So it actually was two, so that wasn't the light.
Yeah.
But if you go back and look at the footage, you can see little holes in the lighting where it should be. But they replaced the whole light. But I'm just trying to think. I was in the audience for 3 of the 4 shows, but I don't think we got away. I mean, that would have been the worst thing that had happened.
Yeah. There were a few.
No.
Oh, hello.
What?
There's a story.
Me
as
almost dying on stage.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, last
When
show.
they almost on the last show.
Oh,
of course.
yes. Sorry.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Okay. This
Death,
must be
but
shared.
death is just around the corner.
was just around the corner.
For the reprise, they lift me up and I'm literally on my back in the air, and they're just holding me by their hands, the ensemble members, and somebody on this shoulder. They would have, I don't know, they might have slipped their hand, and I am just going closer to the ground, and I'm literally on their shoulders because they caught me. And I just, oh my God, I almost fell
It was.
on stage.
It got a good laugh
Yeah.
Yeah.
from the
Oh, a
audience.
few like, and then.
I think some people
like,
thought it was
awkward
part of it,
laughs.
or
Yeah.
death. She's about
Yeah.
to die.
Yeah.
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 Bit
Yeah.
ironic, but anyway.
But yeah. Yeah. So I remember, what is it? Because I saw the Friday show,
Oh, yeah.
and
Good show.
I was up
That was
the
a-
very back row, and probably I forget which scene it was, but Uncle Fester was walking. It was the bit where he walks out in front and then goes across that
yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay.
2 people had come in late, right? And so here's the seats. And then this is where I was. Their seats were over here. They decided to come in from the entire way.
Yeah.
And of course, like, we were close to the moving spotlight. So
Oh
then
my
you have
God.
2 people go over him and he's like blacked out for like 5 seconds.
Because they've walked past the
Get
spotlight.
past it.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
And then
would
you
you
had
wait?
the lady next to me who did the classic, oh, I'm going to take a photo as the opening started. Oh no, my flash is on.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Theatre etiquette.
Exactly.
Wow.
So,
There you go.
To
yeah.
be more demanding with the opening announcement.
Yeah, it's just
Phones
like,
will be
please-
taken off.
Yeah.
Please, we will come out. Gomez will point at you until
With
you
his
put it
sword.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a thing that really surprised me was the statues of the not the statues, the
Like the grades.
photo frames
Oh,
of
right.
the
Oh, yeah.
teachers. So who did you pick? Or what was the decision-making process? And was anyone hurt as they were not included?
Oh, well, no, I don't know. I haven't heard that. Our goal was to choose the most loved and the most not so loved teachers in the school, and then not tell them which one was which.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, popular teachers and maybe teachers that are a bit stricter in class.
Mr.
And
Ferrante was a good example.
Yeah.
He was
Oh,
just-
yeah.
that was funny.
When I noticed that was Ferrante, I'm just like, he didn't do anything, but I'm like, he nailed that.
Yeah,
That's
he
what
was
I made
amazing.
for
Just
He
him.
was
his
very good.
entrance
Yeah.
was like
Yeah.
beautiful.
I think we also wanted teachers that some of them wouldn't typically come to our musicals. In fact, one of the teachers in it had never been to a Loyola musical and
Is
worked
that
here.
Swift?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's worked here for, I don't know, 10 years or something, 8 years. And it made her come. That was a part of our plan. We had more than that. We, in fact, had the principal on our list, but he didn't come
He
to the
said that.
filming. So we had more, and it was just whoever could turn up, but they worked really well.
They were really good.
Yeah. So aside from bleeding and almost dying, what do you think was one of the biggest challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome it?
Oh. That's a good one.
Trying to
Challenges.
get through Happy Sad without getting a tear.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
That was
Beautiful
the hardest
song.
thing because you had to kind of be professional in it, but also wanting to show the emotion. But that was the toughest one to get through.
Technically, it's the most challenging show that we've done. So we had everything except probably pyrotechnics, which we did 2 years ago. But we used digital and real sets, and then we had dry ice, and then we had a gate that opened on its own, and then we had not just digital, but digital that had to be interactive with the
Yeah.
cast, with
the
move towards
Yeah.
towards the
flying around
darkness.
Yeah.
And we didn't want blackouts. So that was our goal this year. Like, the difference between a high school show and professional is that high schools always black the whole stage out and the crew run out. And so our goal was not to have that. And so we had this original idea of using the drapes that would come in for every scene change.
That was a
Not all the
nightmare.
way, but maybe halfway, and then the crew could work behind. It was a disaster.
Yeah.
And so with only like a week, not even a week to go.
No, they
It was
were-
the Friday we had drapes,
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was and it was painful.
which was our photo day.
And the Monday night.
And Monday we got rid of them.
Yeah.
So the whole weekend, the creative team were on the phone to each other. What filmed it then? It was great. We filmed it because then we
Yeah.
just had to come up
Could
with
see.
Plan B.
Yeah.
And Plan B was that the cast had to move the set,
And it worked.
and it worked.
Yeah.
But we had 2 days to make that work. So, and it did.
Mm.
Your challenge?
Did you have a challenge?
Oh, it's a bit dumb, but it was just wearing those heels
Oh, no,
for
that's
Morticia.
Yeah.
Because my feet
they
were
were
just...
killing. They
like-
trashed.
They were not okay. They were bright red and so sensitive I could not walk.
That's fair enough. So, I don't know why I said that's fair enough.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, I'm...
Well,
the-
she's
Well
a professional
Yes.
actress. She just deals with it.
Yeah. So, what would you all like to say to students who don't usually participate in musicals?
Oh,
What are you doing? Do something and come and just come and do it. It's honestly the best fun you'll ever have.
If you want sports, go to Parade.
No, maybe not.
Oh, we should
Yeah,
say
no.
that. Cut that.
It's fun.
I think
Best
that...
6 months of your life.
Yeah, I think that it's so rewarding at the end when it all just comes together after all those months and weeks of just
And yelling.
and yelling, of just working so hard and pushing yourself to the limit. It's so rewarding at the end. And people as well who, you know, don't usually think that, oh, I could never do that, I could never do that, I could never go on stage and do that and sing and dance and act in front of all those people. You really, like, you don't really realise what you can do. Because I was like that when Nat did Copacabana.
Oh,
Apparently I said that, oh, I could never do that at her age. I could never go on stage. And then I literally did that 10 years
What were
later.
you, like 8 or 9?
Well, 10 years ago, so I would have
Yeah.
been...
Yeah, 8 or 9.
Yeah, which is really
So, yeah,
crazy.
Alana's sister was in a musical here at Loyola and lead star. And, yeah, I just say, just come. Like, and, like, you only remember a few things about high school, right? You'll remember some camps you went on, maybe
Yeah.
dead ball or formals, and maybe a couple of teachers, but you don't remember exactly what happened in year 10 maths.
No.
On that day, but you remember your musical.
Yeah.
You'll remember each one you did from 7 to 12. There aren't many things like that at school you remember.
Okay, so we've reached our final question. So what will you guys miss most about the show?
Wow. Oh,
Well, we're
Give us
all
a
so
minute.
sad. We need some
Now
time.
we're feeling happy, sad.
Well, look, we had an amazing cast this year. I think you say that every year, but like just a beautiful mix of people and talents, and like Michaela Wednesday, that was her first ever musical. Like people don't know that; they think she's like done a heap.
Yeah.
And you know, we debuted a few other people too, like Christian and Nathan, and doing their first show. But I will just miss. We just had so much fun. It was such a funny show,
All
and
the
the
memories.
the jokes are still going at our house.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
You can
oh, that's
quote
too
this
dark.
show in everyday
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my wife at the moment's right on the Alice at one point says, no, and she's doing it at work. She's a teacher as well, so kids will say something and she's going, no. So
And they're just like, miss, I don't get that
no,
reference.
they don't. I don't understand your references.
Yeah, oh my God, there we go.
There we go. It's perfect.
How are you feeling year 12? Like you're not
Yeah.
going to do another one?
don't say that, because that's what made me cry on the last show. You just, like, you really create a family with the whole cast. You make so many memories, so many jokes that you make together. The whole experience is so... You just hold it close to your heart forever because it's so beautiful. But yeah.
And I mean, you've got another year to go, but school musicals are different to community groups or you do it at university. It's just a different feel because you're here every day, so you're living it every day. Where if you do it with your community group, you go twice a week for rehearsal or whatever. The people you don't meet, and you might not see them again because people come in and do one show at that theatre company and they never do another one again at that. Where here, if you're doing it from year 7, it's that family that you've got for 6 years.
Yeah.
People come in and people leave, but there's a core group that you're with the whole time.
Yeah.
For you, I mean, it's a role that, is made for you.
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally made for
That
me.
was, I think just getting to just letting the jokes out and saying the amount of ancestors we had, like Hector Fernando Esquendando Chimichanga.
The funniest line, I've been watching the video back and I want to do like a laugh-o-meter, but
Yeah.
I think at the moment, I thought she was your mother.
That is that got an applause, I think,
And
one
then,
show.
and then you back it up with, no, seriously.
Yeah, there was always, I thought she was your mother. That was just a giggle. And then, no, seriously.
Yeah.
And then I got it. But I think, because a lot of my friends are year 12 and I did it with them, and I think it's just going to be interesting seeing how I behave next year
Yeah.
without people who I put so much faith and love into. And it's just going to be, it'll be a different experience. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you all so much
Thanks for having us, mate.
for coming. So, yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks. All right.
Thanks.
We just said thanks like 6 times.
Yeah, we're
All
done.
right. Great. Amazing.
Thanks.
Thanks. I don't know what else to say. All right.
Well done, Rich. That was good.